Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, and today I'm joined by my co-host,
Mary.
And we are doing our second deep dive, even though this is the 7th season of Survivor. We're doing a deep dive all about Survivor Pearl Islands, which is Mary's second old school season she's watched. She has not watched seasons 1 through 5. One day we'll go back and watch them, but for now...
We tried to watch season 1.
I've watched season 1. I had to.
Okay, sorry. Together we tried.
One time, a few years ago, and it was rough. It was real rough. So, today we're talking about Pearl Islands, which is a fun one. Some consider this to be their favorite season. So throughout this episode, we're going to walk through a few different categories. Whenever I do a season review, I'll talk about like thematic twists, character, strategy, production, the winner, stuff like that. But this is not a podcast for me to talk about those things. As I just said, there's a season review video where I'll give my opinion for the most part. Here, it's mostly Mary's opinion. I will, of course, be a part of the conversation, but we're more concerned about what Mary, as a casual, somebody who's never seen the season before, thinks about it and get her take on most of these things. So, Mary, are you ready to give your takes on Pearl Islands?
I am ready.
Okay, so just like general thoughts going into the season, what did you think?
Are you talking about like before you even
watched
watched
I'm sorry,
it?
not before you started watching. Just like,
okay.
Like what are your general thoughts of the season overall? Because as we go through each category, Mary will give, out of 10, she'll give a score for each category. And then we'll come up with some overall score that's not really based on math from Mary. But just like, what were your general overall feelings about the season?
Okay, sure. I really enjoyed the season a lot. I think from the very first episode, they really grab your attention because it's so different. The whole pirate theme and the whole starting off.
So we'll just say that our first category is themes and twists. Yeah. I think because you're about to talk about it anyways.
Well, I mean, like, how else am I supposed to get my opinion?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, themes and twists are like a big part of the season. So yeah, totally pirate themed. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the pirate theme at the very beginning, the whole idea of them going to the village and having their money, and then they had to buy their own supplies. Like, I just never seen anything like that in modern Survivor or the classic Survivors that I've watched. So
and there's not another season that I know of that does this or anything like this. So I agree. I thought
it was brilliant.
Yes.
Like, they really stuck with the theme all throughout, like challenges, the music, the team names, the
immunity
idols, like everything was
which is a sword and a pistol.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. I really wish they would do another one like that because it was so cool.
Well, there's been our seasons where they've had like this kind of theme, but I don't think never where they've just gone like, I don't know. So
like every single challenge was like, okay, so you're a pirate and you're, if you're marooned on an island, you know what I mean? Like everything was, even if it didn't necessarily, okay, they're floating on a box in the middle of the water, but like they still describe it as like,
or the time they played Scrabble or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They crossword thing where they had to get words. Like everything was still just like so centered around the theme, and I thought the
music too.
Yeah, I loved the music. The music was so good.
The music was very pirate themed. So yeah, the themes and twists. I guess some of the twists that happened this season were from the very beginning. They tricked everyone. How do they trick everyone?
So at the very beginning, they tell everyone, "Hey, we're gonna go do a photo shoot. So dress up in whatever you want to wear when you're, you get your photo taken for Survivor." And then they just stop the boat in the middle of the water and like, surprise, you're not going to a photo shoot. Jump out of the boat. Here's some money. You don't get to take any clothes. You don't get to change. Nothing. Jeff did graciously give them their tennis shoes. But yeah, they had to just jump off the boat, take their money to this nearby island. They had to swim to the island. So they're soaking wet in their dress. Some of them were in dress clothes or jeans or whatever. And then they had to go to the island and they had to buy their own supplies, which sure, they did get to start out with more supplies than other seasons. But at the same time, it was like this. It was just crazy. It was like this frantic race to go buy the best supplies, to get a good deal, to haggle and barter. And it was it seemed piratey. It was like some people were trying to intimidate the natives and some people were trying to just like work with the natives. And
well, it helped that the one tribe who's working with the natives was because they had Sandra who spoke Spanish.
Right.
Whereas the other tribe, I don't think had anybody who spoke Spanish.
Right. I don't think so. It didn't seem to be that way. So
yeah. So the tribes were split up into Drake and Morgan, pirate themed.
Captain Drake.
The Drake tribe had Sandra, Fairplay, and Rupert, and the most notable names. And then the Morgan tribe had Savage, Austin, and Lil. Mm-hmm. I think those are the three most prominent names from each of those.
And
tribes.
right away, one of my favorite things that happened the whole season is that Rupert sits down because he's tired because he's wearing jeans, and the Morgan tribe comes up with their boat full of shoes and then just walks away. And so Rupert steals all of their shoes from their boat and then goes and barters with their shoes so that he can get more food and stuff. And
he was in some terrible deals.
He was like,
though.
I'm going to be a pirate.
He's
well,
like,
sure,
I'll give
but
you these 2 shoes for a pineapple. And
yeah,
they're like,
but
yeah,
I know that was really terrible. But at the same time, like, he just grabbed the shoes that were late. He wasn't bartering with his shoes or something.
I know that is true. He was not bartering with his shoes. And and we never hear from the other tribe where they think their shoes went. Or
That's true. I never heard a response.
Yeah, you
from
think they would
tribe.
be like, where did our shoes go? Or like, what happened? Or did someone sell our shoes? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I also, an iconic moment from that is when Rupert has the shoes and he's giving some to Fairplay, and Fairplay's like, "Where'd you get these?" And he's like, "They were pirated." He's like, "Oh, okay." He just walks away with the shoes, like doesn't even ask a second question about like, "Wait, Rupert, where'd you get these?"
Right. No, it was awesome. I loved it. The whole opening episode just like really grabs your attention. It was really good.
And so I think it's a little hard to talk about this other major twist of the season without talking about the characters. So we'll talk about the characters first, and then we'll get back into the twist, because that's the opening twist of the season, but there's not really any other twists. Of course it's all pirate themed, but so before we get into the major twist of the season, let's talk about the characters. And I think we should do it like we did last time, where we would just go in order of how they were booted from the season. So the first person, and it's okay if you don't remember some of these people, because these are the first people who got booted. But the first one was Nicole Delma, who I remember as Jeff making a slightly inappropriate remark because she wasn't wearing a bra. She just had her dress on because when they were thrown in the ocean, they were not given any of their extra clothes. Jeff tied all their tennis shoes together and threw them in with them, but he did not tie in like underwear. So Nicole's out here with just a dress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember her. She did. I mean, I don't remember much about her, but
That's fair. It's she's the first boot. It's okay. She came from the Morgan tribe, so the Morgan tribe loses the first immunity, and then we move into second person, Ryan Shoulders, also known as Skinny Ryan, who seemed to be.
I wish he would have lasted longer because I did like him. He seemed like he was like a super fan, but
he definitely seemed like a nerd. I don't know about super fan.
Well, I don't know. He seemed like
he wasn't there long enough to tell us if he was, I think.
I think what bugged me about it was that he was really fighting to stay, and he really wanted to stay. In that episode, Austin was like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
Vote me out.
Yeah, it was like episode 2 where Austin's already like saying, vote me out.
And so Ryan's like, okay, well, I want to stay, but then he doesn't get to stay. And so I think that's why it just disappointed me, because he obviously really wanted to play and Austin didn't. But Austin got to stay because he was quote unquote physically stronger.
I hope nobody thinks you're actually going home, because even if you get voted out first, you're not going home. You're still just going on like a vacation somewhere.
Sure.
But in this season, that's not the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're still not going to be like going home. So I hope it wasn't specifically going home, and more like Austin, I think. And we haven't gotten Austin yet, really.
Wanted to eat food.
Well, Austin wanted to eat food, of course, but I think he was like, if you saw him, he was only in his underwear because he sold all of his other clothes.
He sold all of his clothes as part of,
mistake.
Yeah. He was trying to get more food or whatever, so he sold all his clothes. But that was like really dumb, because it gets super cold at night. And I don't think they got a blanket or a tarp or anything, did they? Or they got maybe one tarp.
They had a tarp, because Sandra ended up stealing that later.
Right. But their tribe, so the Morgan tribe, we'll go back to that pirate thing for really quick. So the Morgan tribe was like just frantic and trying to grab whatever they could. Together. They just like scattered by whatever you can find. The Drake tribe kind of stuck together in groups of 2 and 3, said, okay, what do we need? You get this, you get that. And they were organized and they took their time, and they got plenty of stuff that they needed. So anyways.
Well, it was right from the beginning of that. You almost could tell right from the beginning, because the Morgan tribe, like immediately people are like doing their own thing, and it's like, we need to be working together. But the Drake tribe actually did that. And it's just like crazy how that immediate chemistry is shown, and it almost basically carries throughout the rest of the season in terms of like how they work together. And it's like so interesting how like right away something like that happens. It wasn't like both tribes were working together or both tribes were individual.
Right. They didn't even know each other's names yet. It still was like, hey, can you please, whatever.
No, not at all. But yeah, Skinny Ryan wanted to be there, but he was called Skinny Ryan, and he was not good in challenges.
He wasn't.
Though, to be fair, there was that one challenge where they sent him out, and I'm like, why isn't Savage doing that? Like, why is Skinny Ryan being sent out to do? I think it was where they'd go out into the water, and you're shaking your head at me, but it was some challenge where I definitely thought Savage should have been doing it, and he wasn't. Skinny Ryan was doing it.
Sure, I'm sure that's.
It was something harder where clearly Savage should have been doing it.
Well, again, that's just bad communication, bad leadership.
Yeah, I know, and we'll get to Savage here in a little bit, but he's viewed as like this. He's viewed as the leader and he's like the smart guy, but there's a lot of times where I'm like, that's not as smart as I think.
So let's go back to characters.
Anyways, yeah, we're still talking about Skinny Ryan. So yeah, he gets voted as second. You have anything else for him?
No, I just wish I could have seen it longer.
So I'm not sure exactly how to do this, but we'll just follow the Survivor Wiki because the third boot is an iconic boot, but it also comes up later. So the fourth boot is Michelle. I don't know how to say his last name. Tesoro.
Why are we going back to Ryan's boot?
Because you want to talk about Ryan's boot more?
Sorry. Michelle's boot. Never mind.
Yeah, we're talking about Michelle's boot. Michelle Tesoro? Tesoro? How do you say that? Tesalo?
Sure. Tesoro. Michelle Tesoro.
Any thoughts on Michelle?
I don't remember her. I can't even picture her at the moment.
I can picture her, but I don't remember anything about her.
She seemed like, that's right, because she was really aligned with Burton, and yeah, they picked
couldn't have been aligned with Burton because... Oh, wait, no, this is the Drake tribe. You're right. Yeah. My bad.
Yeah, this is the Drake tribe.
For some reason, I thought it was Morgan because Morgan lost so many challenges.
Yeah, they did. Right. They lost so many challenges.
Yeah.
But they only lost two immunities.
So Michelle is a result of... of Drake throwing a challenge.
Yes, of Drake throwing the challenge because they wanted to get Burton out, and Michelle seemed to be tied with Burton. So, throw a challenge and get the right-hand man out instead of the person you're looking to get. But either way, I hate when people throw challenges.
Fair Play annoyed Jeff Probst so much when he told Jeff Probst they threw this challenge on purpose. Yeah. And Fair Play goes to the other tribe and tells them, "Oh yeah, we threw this challenge. Like, let's like
keep skipping ahead."
Well, I just think it's important because she is the result of that throwing the challenge.
That's true.
And it's just like, and it's not like we are guessing they threw the challenge. Like, no, Fair Play is like actively going around and admitting and telling everyone. Mm-hmm. There's so much talk about Fair Play. We're not gonna. He's going around to actively telling people like Jeff Probst and the other tribe, like, yeah, we threw that challenge. Yeah, that was us. So don't feel too good about yourself because we threw it. We gave it to you. Yeah. Because
anyways, it's just dumb.
I think it was dumb to throw it to get rid of Michelle. I agree. And
right,
Rupert didn't want to throw it.
No, Rupert didn't want to throw it. But if you're gonna throw a challenge to get someone because they want to hurt Burton, why not get Burton out?
They had to sit Rupert out of the challenge. Yeah. Because I think it's the one where they were like, so this is almost a recreation of the attack zone from Survivor Thailand, but in this case, instead of like people choosing when to go in the attack zone and fight each other.
Chess, basically.
Yeah, it's more like you move a space and then, okay, time for us to face off. So we meet in the middle, then Jeff Probst says to go. Mm-hmm. Versus like the free-for-all the attack zone was in Survivor Thailand, which is what made it so iconic, is that people didn't have Jeff Probst giving them direction. They just kind of did it themselves. But no, here they set Rupert out, which Rupert clearly would have lost.
Right. And they set Burton out because Burton thought they were throwing the challenge to get rid of, I don't remember who he thought they were.
But he definitely didn't think it was hurt him.
Yeah.
He would not have sat out knowing that. So that was Michelle. Unfortunately, isn't much of a character on the season, but how they got her out is what is so important to the season. So our next boot is Trish Dunn, another boot from Drake. Mm-hmm. She was the oldest member of this. Oh, that can't be right. Trish Dunn, 42?
She's one of the oldest.
She the oldest?
I
believe she is, actually. No, I'm sorry. Lillian Morris is the most. Because in one of our Survivor Trivias, I asked who the second oldest person was. It was Trish Dunn.
Yeah.
That's why I got mixed up. No, Trish Dunn's only 42.
Second oldest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she was interesting. She was pretty quiet for the most part, but I think the reason she got voted out was she started attacking Rupert because Rupert. So we didn't mention this, but after this challenge, the Morgan tribe gets to steal a member of the Drake tribe and take them back with them to camp.
Oh, yeah. After the challenge that they threw.
Yeah. So they got to take Rupert, and he had to...
He had to stay with them for 2 or 3 days.
Stay with him for 3 days and play with him at the next reward challenge. Mm-hmm. So when they get back to camp, Trish is all like, "Oh no, Rupert's going to be telling them our secrets," and Rupert's like, "Yeah, da 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 da." And so
Fair Play's on board. It's like, "Yeah, let's get rid of Rupert."
Sure. But no one, and everyone else liked Rupert. Rupert's the one catching fish for them. Rupert's doing all this stuff. So
He's
I think
so much fish.
Yeah. So I think that's why Trish
Yeah, it's like and this is like, I know we haven't got to fair play yet, but this is like the first case of like, why didn't we get rid of fair play? And I guess in this case, it seemed like Trish was the one leading the charge from what we saw on TV of getting Rupert
I'm sure there's
out.
other reasons, and she's older, and I'm sure she wasn't doing much else.
Well,
but
fair play is like super skinny, and as Sandra says later in the season, he's like a girl.
Yes.
So fair play isn't like some behemoth who like great in challenges.
Right.
I think it's just more the case that from what we saw on television is that Trish seemed to be leading the charging area of Rupert.
Right.
And fair play was just on board, so they got rid of Trish.
Right.
And of course she's an older woman, so I guess the optics there is just that she should be not as good in challenges as fair play.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rupert was captured over on the Morgan tribes for a couple days, and she was worried. Well, number one, her and Fair Play saw how everyone just loved Rupert, and they figured if the other tribe loved Rupert, then at the merge, everyone will love Rupert. No
Which
one
is
get rid
fair.
Of him.
I mean, it's not. It's smart, but
well, in classic Survivor, that is if everyone loves you, you're probably fine. Like it wasn't like, oh, there's such a big target. That wasn't like how people really talked back then. But I feel like this is the first season where people are like actively like, Rupert's gonna win the game if he gets to the end, and like I feel like there's a lot more talk this
just
season
because
like,
he's likable.
The same with Lil. Like if Lil gets to the end of the season, she's gonna win. Like there was like those kind of talks where I feel like in the Amazon is a little bit teased, like, but it was more like they were talking about Seth Janino and how he screwed so many people over, but they were worried maybe that if he got to the end, he'd be able to talk his way into a win possibly. But there was no like, oh, if this person from the Amazon gets to the end, they're gonna win. There was no talk like that, and I can't remember any talk like that in the first 5 seasons. But in this season, it was definitely like, if Rupert gets to the end, he wins. And if Lil gets to the end, she wins. Like, that was how people talked about some of these people. Which we had never really heard before in other seasons. So, I feel like Trish here is like, Trish and Fair Play voting against Rupert is like the first instance of, like, we got to get rid of this person because they're a favorite to win.
Yeah. But she just kind of jumped the gun.
And the kidnapping, by the way, came out of left field. I feel
that was weird.
But
I stuck with the pirate theme.
Yeah,
it was cool.
I do wish that I bet you if they had told them before that challenge, like, by the way, the losing tribe gets to kidnap another player, I wonder if Drake still throws the challenge.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Is that the one where Drake throws the challenge?
Yeah.
For Michelle, yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you Drake doesn't throw that challenge. I bet you they pull a 180 and put Rupert in. But yeah, no, they threw it, and Jeff like pulls a note out of his pocket at the end of the challenge, and it's like, by the way, you're trying to kidnap somebody. And people nowadays talk about unfair twists and advantages, and this was like completely unfair
because after that, like Morgan had won nothing, not one single thing, no reward, no immunity. After they threw it, and then they get Rupert, and then they win the reward, the next one, and then they win like immunity. 3 in a row, or
they win like 3 or 4 in a row.
Reward immunity. It was crazy.
And it didn't help that Rupert was literally feeding them fish. Same way he was feeding
he taught them how to fish. He went and fished for them. He's just a nice guy. You can't not like Rupert.
Wait till we get to All Stars, Mary. I'm not saying he changes. I'm just saying like Rupert comes back in All Stars. He's like the same Rupert.
Oh, that's good.
It's just the same Rupert in All Stars, but he gets a different edit because he's not Mr. Perfect like he is here. But anyway, so Trish goes, and then the next is Sean, and this is really where it gets interesting because Sean goes, but Sean all season have been fighting with Fair Play.
Yes.
We're going in order of what's of the wiki. Okay. You're like, no. But yeah, no, Sean goes next. So at this point, it's important to reveal that the Outcasts are here because the Outcasts are now a 3rd tribe, and they exist, I think, only for 1 episode, basically. And Jeff reveals, hey guys, welcome to the Edge of Extinction prequel. Here's these 6 castaways you voted out. 2 of them we haven't really mentioned that they were voted out. We'll get to them because they get voted out a second time, or they make it to the end of the game for you and I, Mary. But so Jeff's like, here's these 6 castaways that you voted out so far. And now they're coming back into the game, and they get a shot to return. And we're going to do this challenge. And if they win the challenge, they get to vote 2 people back in the game. And each of you, Drake and Morgan, have to vote 1 person out. And if you guys win, if both of you win and Outcasts lose, they get nobody in. Yeah. Which would, by the way, have been very anticlimactic. And then,
that's true.
Yeah. And then if the Outcasts and one tribe win, they only vote 1 person in. But anyways, that doesn't matter because ultimately what happens, the Outcasts win the challenge. And they vote
super close. It was a really exciting challenge.
It was.
Yeah.
And they get to vote 2 people back in the game. And this is I think this is probably a good time to talk about the twist because this is a real big twist because we were fooled. Like, at least in the modern Survivor, when they did Edge of Extinction, like, the Edge of Extinction, they tell us
right
they're going to do it. even though the players don't know it till the merge, or on Winners at War where they knew about it from the very beginning. So they know that there's these people going to our island. And like, but here they fooled us because they're having these people do like goodbye confessionals at the end after they get voted out. And like, you don't ever hear about them ever again, which by the way, does help the edit of the show. But it does, that makes you wonder, oh, where were these people when they were in the Outcast?
I did wonder that because it was like, yeah, they've been, they've had just as much food as you all have had or whatever, so they had to have been like on another beach somewhere, I guess.
No, so I actually have a little bit of knowledge on this.
Okay.
So no, there wasn't like another like Edge of Extinction beach. It was basically, they were just back at production camp, but they were sequestered. So they could, I believe this is what happened. They weren't allowed to talk to each other. It was just like when you're in the pregame, you're not allowed to talk to other players. And they were on a limited supply of food, and they were still wearing the same clothing. It's not like they got to take showers and stuff and shave. It was, and they basically, I think, told that
they probably got to actually sleep though. If they
I
had
think
a
they
bed.
were told they had to have been told something because there had to be a reason why they were, of course, being sequestered and not. But it wasn't like they were living on another beach like Edge of Extinction. So you want to talk about unfair twists?
I thought it was cool.
This and the kidnapping are two unfair twists that people are like, oh, they should know all the twist up front at the beginning of the season. I'm like, they've been doing this stuff since like season 3 with Africa. So, and here's a great example of that. And this still makes for a great season. So anyways, so the Outcasts win the challenge. And so Drake and Morgan each have to vote one person out of the game so they can have that person replaced by an outcast.
Wait a minute.
What's up?
Okay. So we didn't talk about, I'm looking at the Survivor wiki.
Yeah.
So when they threw that challenge, they did get Burton out. He was the first one.
Is that who they got out on the throwing challenge, not
got,
Trish?
yes.
I am so sorry, everyone who listened or already commented they got rid of Burton. My bad.
Yeah, because it's not listed in order in the Survivor.
Yeah, no, it's throwing us off. I feel so dumb. I think you're right. They got rid of it's confusing with the way the wiki has it. Let me double check on Burton. Fourth voted out. You're right. No, Burton was the one they threw the challenge to get rid of.
And
which makes way more sense than Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle. I was like trying to remember why Michelle, but you're right. Burton was the one.
Yeah.
So, anyways, back to where we were. Drake votes out Sean, who had been getting in lots of fights with Fair Play.
Yes.
And I think they picked getting rid of Sean or Fair Play, not only because Sean seemed to be fighting more just in general, but I think they knew they were going to emerge and Sean would be stronger, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons.
So
and he wasn't, Fair Play annoyed everyone, but I think that was one of the reasons to keep him around because they knew he annoyed everyone. And Sean was like annoyed people, but not as much. So
what did you think about Sean?
I never liked him. I thought he wasn't very...
He does mention that during the
strategic. He did mention that he got a bad edit.
Yeah.
And okay, but I can only base my opinion on the edit that I saw.
I think if you do the things that you're doing, and it gets shown. Sure they didn't show more of your better moments, but
when you choose, you can choose to argue with people. Like I understand people are on short rations. I understand emotions are high or whatever, but like Johnny Fairplay, like what's the goal of arguing with him? Like there's no, I don't know.
Well, a lot of the time, if you'll notice, there's a consistency here. Is that Sean only gets into fights from what we see with one person, Johnny Fairplay.
Yeah.
Johnny Fairplay gets into fights with 3 people, Sean, Rupert, and Sandra, from what I recall.
Yeah, at least.
Yep. So who's the common problem there?
Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't know that at this point because he hasn't. Yeah, I don't think he's fought with. No, I don't think he's fought with.
Well, and
he did fight with Rupert at this point because he put that vote on Rupert when Trish got voted out, and Rupert got PO'd.
Yes, he got very, very mad at him.
So at this point, Fairplay has.
But Rupert started the argument, and so with Sean, this was like the one time I almost agreed with Johnny Fairplay though, because they had to move the shelter. Remember that where like the sea was coming in or whatever?
No, that's the other tribe. That's Morgan.
Sorry. Okay. They wanted to raise the bed. They wanted to raise the bed because of the bed. Sorry. They wanted to raise the bed. And so he was arguing with Sean because he was like, Sean kept trying to like stall and like, well, do we really need to do this? And yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And he was just standing there talking.
Bro, let's just do it.
And yeah, that was like the one time I agree with Johnny Fairplay. I'm like, you could have had this done by now instead of just standing there and talking.
And we're just sitting there talking. Yeah.
Like again, that was what we were shown. So whatever.
Well, no, I think it's probably accurate. I think Fairplay was just done with the whole discussion of it and let's just do it.
I didn't think he was that
also,
great
there's
of a
another
player.
time where they're like, let's cook this food before we go to the challenge.
Yes.
And Fair Play is going to do it. And Sean's like, well, why don't you just do half and half, or let's just not do it. And Fair Play's like, we got time. We're going to do it. And like everyone except for you has voted to do this. And then they get in another fight. But to be fair, Fair Play was always an antagonist as well. It was not like he's some innocent dove getting attacked by Sean.
Oh, no. I understand that.
Fair Play would flip Sean off. He would cuss at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sean would get up in his face. It was interesting. It was for such a whimsical season. It was definitely one of the harder aspects of the season. But thankfully, there's no racial fighting or like gender. It was just like two white guys fighting the chair. So it removes a lot of like it could have been more serious had it been, because in Thailand, I know you didn't see this, but Ted and Gondia had a like tiff, and it was based around Ted grinding up on Gondia at night, which is a whole like sexual.
Sure, it could be a lot.
Yeah,
worse.
like that was a lot darker
gotcha.
because like, and we didn't see it on TV, so we don't even know like who's really. We just only go based on what everybody's saying. It's like this here is not to that level of seriousness.
This is definitely a clash of personalities.
Yeah, this is just more like a schoolyard fight. So, anyways, that's Sean. Sean, mostly known for fighting with Fair Play. And our next person is somebody that, as we said from episode 2, was talking about quitting. Yes. Austin.
I did not like Austin.
Austin landed on the beach, and if I remember watching, he was like so full of energy. He was
it was crazy.
Let's go 1,000 miles an hour.
His first day, he was all about it. He was, selling his clothes. He was like, "Come on, guys, let's go, let's swim." Da 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 da. And it was like immediately, like whatever episode 2 is. He just got immediately burnt out. Like he didn't realize it was going to be so difficult. And I mean, everyone says Survivor is a mental game, and he just didn't have the mental fortitude. And it really bugs me how long he was kept around, because.
But he's so fit. Like you look at him, like it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't matter.
It does though, because it doesn't make sense. Because if Austin at 50% is better than Skinny Ryan at 100, you keep Austin.
Okay, but remember in the challenge where skinny little what's her name, Krista.
Krista's on the different tribe.
Let me finish the sentence. Right. Skinny little Krista held as much weight as Austin did for like twice the time. That's mental.
Well, by that point,
that's completely mental.
But we're talking about back in like episode 2 where they get rid of Skinny Ryan.
I know, but
like, he doesn't know that's coming up.
I'm just saying that Austin, whether you have muscles or not, it's up to how you use your mind.
I agree.
And Survivor is completely mental, and like that's one reason I disagree so much with Andrew Savage's leadership is because you have to have people that want to be there and want to fight in order to win. You cannot have people who are already checked out. It doesn't matter how strong they are. If they're checked out, they're not going to fight.
So I think this was their 4th tribal they went to. There's no way in anywhere I'm getting rid of Austin over Nicole Delma, especially at that point because he wasn't like saying, "Oh, vote me out" yet. Skinny Ryan goes before Austin still. I don't care what you think about. When it comes to mental, Austin outdoes Skinny Ryan.
Sure, it was their 2nd tribal. I can't say, but there were other opportunities to get rid of Austin.
The only other opportunity then it comes down to be between him and Lil. And as we saw on the show, Lil was like an outcast on her own tribe. So socially, Lil was not a part of their tribe. Her Skinny Ryan were on the outs. And I'm not saying that makes them right for getting rid of her, but really that was the only tribal where it's like, really, should we get rid of Lil or should we get rid of Austin? And maybe in the long run, it would have been better to keep Lil. Especially in the long run, considering how this game plays out. They don't know that, though. They're just guessing based on...
I know. I get it.
Do we keep this, this grandma who's
it was a strategic
51
move.
years old, or do we keep Austin who's jacked and in his 20s? I mean,
I'm just saying, you asked my opinion of Austin, and I didn't like Austin.
Yeah, no, I understand that, like, when somebody has, like, this, like, I want to quit, I want to get out of here mentality, it's annoying.
Yeah.
And Jeff clearly
didn't
like it either, because when Austin gets voted out, he just puts his torch down on the ground, doesn't even give him. He says people work too hard to get into this game or on this game.
Yeah, and at the end when they like do the walk of memory or shame or whatever,
and they burn down the ship.
They burn down the ship with all the torches on, except Austin's because he didn't.
Quit,
He quit. So, anyways,
yeah, they really laid into Austin. I don't think he's the true first quit of Survivor. It's just the first quit. It's like so vocal and honest on TV.
Yeah, and so good for him to be like honest about it and just be like, guys, I can't do this or whatever, and good for him for backing himself up at I don't know, but whatever.
I think what's happened before is that we've had people who are okay with being voted out, but not necessarily that they quit.
Yeah.
So like we just saw this in the Amazon where Shauna was like laying in the shack, like, yeah, life's the worst. And then the guy show up and she's like, hello. But she still gets voted out.
She
later.
never quit.
But she never straight up quit. I'm saying that Austin may be the first like true and the true and true quit, but we definitely have seen on the show where like other people have wanted to quit. It didn't quite happen, but it was close.
Yeah, but the difference between them is that Shauna was jump started out of it. Like she mentally got back in it.
Well, I mean, honestly, was Austin going to get jump started if like Sandra came over? He's like, oh, hey, Sandra. I mean, what was going to get Austin?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because it's for Shauna, she's needing an attractive male to come over. Enter Alex. But here, I don't know what would have jump started. I think Austin really was just down to his underwear. And I think it really drains a person to like,
I'm sure,
be cold and not be able to sleep. And then, I get it. What I always wondered is why they don't sleep during the day on Survivor if they didn't sleep at night. Because they're always like,
because then your schedule gets flipped and you have to do the challenges and stuff during the day.
I don't know. I think.
I'm sure you can take naps. Yeah. And people do.
I guess you don't want to be looked at as weak.
Lazy.
You don't be looked at as lazy. Yeah. I it's a whole social thing. I get it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's hard to sleep during the day because of all the light. I really don't know. Never been on the show, but yeah, I know Austin is the first he's considered the first quit a Survivor, even though there have been rumors of people before who have basically been okay with being voted out is what this is. And he was voted out, but it was more like Jeff's like, are you going to vote Austin? Are you going to vote Austin? It was like the first time I think we've had people.
It was a verbal vote.
Yeah, it was a verbal vote. And not the last one either, as we know, but the first one where Jeff's just like asked everybody if they're okay with voting on Austin. And Austin's like, all right. He's like, all right, get out of here. He doesn't even like say the tribe spoke. He's just like, get out of here.
Yeah. So he was pretty mad.
Yeah. Jeff was ticked. Jeff's ticked a few times this season, which is funny. Mostly at Fair Play, but in this case at Austin. So I think it's important to mention here that the Outcasts, how they get back in the game is not like Edge of Extinction where they do a challenge. And I actually like how they do it here because it is you socially have to get back in the game. Now what's confusing though is we don't know why everyone's getting votes for. Like what's the
reasoning, logic? Yeah,
like why are we voting? But basically, Burton and Lil get back in the game. Lil was voted out in the Chris Underwood spot of 3rd, and Burton was voted out in the Rick Devon spot of 4th.
Wow.
I know, isn't that crazy? So when we get back to Edge of Extinction season, 3rd and 4th person also come back in. And the 3rd person gets it farther than the 4th person. Because Burton doesn't get to the end, but Lil does.
It's like Survivor Inception.
Holy cow. Isn't that crazy? So I think it's probably good to mention now that these people just got voted back in and they go back to the original tribes, but it's like a non-factor because the merge happens the next day. So it's like, it doesn't even matter they got to the original tribes. I don't even know why they did that. They should just had them merged. But I think it's important to talk about why Lil got voted out the first time and Burton got voted out the first time, which we did skip over.
We did skip over.
But let's briefly mention it because
we talked
come
about
back
Burton.
in the
We
game.
talked about Burton.
Yeah, Burton got... So everything we said about Michelle is really what we meant about Burton is that they were like through the challenge to get rid of Burton.
And then they got rid of Michelle because
they were really high on themselves to get rid of Burton because Burton's a strong dude.
Yes.
But Lil, on the other hand, was a social outcast in her tribe with Skinny Ryan. Even though she was a hard worker, it didn't necessarily matter to
She didn't jive with her teammates and she was older and just didn't get along. But as soon as they merged...
That tribe was a mess though.
Yeah,
socially,
it was a mess.
From the very beginning.
Yeah. Like, I don't think anyone really got along with anyone.
Which is why I was confused. Like, Andrew Savage is very, like, he talks. Like, he's a good talker. He's a lawyer, so that makes sense. But, like, he's not, like, a great leader. Because if he was, that tribe would have been more unified than they were.
But they chose him as a leader, so, I mean, that's...
Well, because nobody else was.
Right. Nobody else could do it.
It's more like a lack of another option.
Yes.
So, anyways, they get voted back in the game. So, Lil and Burton come back to the game and they get one tribal completely free of... They get the first merge tribal where they're completely free of getting voted out.
They have immunity.
Which, to my opinion, a bit controversial. They should be eligible. Which really only would have made Lil eligible because Burton wins immunity.
Right. But then...
He gives it to Rupert.
But
only because he's already safe. But I'm saying that if they didn't have this, what in my opinion is a controversial, like, you're safe for one tribal, then Burton keeps it. Rupert wouldn't have gone anywhere. Burton keeps it. But Lil, does she go at the first merge? I don't know. possible.
I don't know. I think it still probably would have been Andrew because of the alliances that Drake was pretty strong at this time, and Andrew was like third place for that immunity challenge. So he's strong. He's really good in challenges. I think they would have still picked him because they could get Lil out anytime.
Yeah, Andrew's definitely a bigger threat to the other tribes. I can see that. I would just meant like I don't know if like the Morgan tribe would have tried to get Lil out, and they're like they would go over to Drake's and be like, hey, let's get rid of Lil. Like she's an outcast for both of our tribes, and then they'd be like, okay, and then they all vote Lil.
Possibly, but like from the very first day of the merge, it seemed like they just took Lil in under the wings. Like they were hugging Lil. Yeah. Krista really liked her. They all hung out. They talked to her. And I think that was strategic in the sense of they wanted to make sure they have the numbers. They want to make sure that Lil didn't stay with Morgan. And they want to make sure Drake stayed on top. So I don't think they would have. I think they still would have gone with Andrew. It would have been the smart move.
What did you
which
think
is
about
what they
Andrew?
did. I mean, I really felt bad for him. Because
outside of his leadership, which we very kind of
I felt bad for him because I feel like he really wanted to be there. He really played hard. He just got a sucky tribe, honestly.
He really did.
Like it just sucked. Like I feel like he was smart, he was strategic for the most part.
He controlled his tribe. He was in charge.
Yeah, he was in charge. He was in charge of the tribe. Pretty much whoever he wanted to go went. He had good relationships with everyone. So I think he was a good player. I just think he got dealt a bad tribe.
So I remember in the Amazon, we heard for the first time people talking about like, oh, I don't want to be the leader because I'll get voted out. Or maybe that was it's in previous seasons where it's been like mentioned maybe once or twice. But like, I think it's not necessarily the dangerous spot to be in as a leader in the pre-merge. I think it's a dangerous spot to be the leader when it reaches the merge. Because Andrew's a perfect case of like, he's the leader of the tribe.
Yeah.
He needs to go. Because, like, even if Austin was still there and they voted out somebody else instead of Austin, I think Austin is not the first one to go. I think Andrew's the first one to go still from the Morgan tribe. So, in fact, it might have been better for Andrew to keep Austin. Little did they know. But because Austin may have been a person to go instead of Andrew. But anyways, Andrew goes. And actually, he gets voted to come back in season 31 second chances. So, that's quite a distance away. I'm actually surprised people voted him back in considering... my opinion is he was not like a major impact on the season, in my personal opinion.
Yeah,
I don't think he was like this. Like when people voted for him,
I just think people probably felt bad. They want to give him a second chance.
Well, I meant so I have 4 stories I'm doing for the season, which I was going to reveal at the end, but I'll just talk about them now. Obviously, I'm doing Sandra because she won, and the patrons voted for Fair Play and Rupert. That was expected, but Savage got the 4th story.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so Savage got voted for. He must have like this great story, but. Really, I don't personally think he had like some great story in Pearl Island. So I'm surprised he gets voted back in second chances. Is he hot? Is that what it is, Mary?
I mean, he's like 49.
It doesn't matter how old he is. Just asking if he's attractive. No, I mean
he's an attractive man. He's very I don't know, like he was really into the game. Like I feel like if he had been on Drake, he would have made it farther.
Oh yeah, no,
he would have been better than Burton.
But then again, Burton got targeted,
but Burton wasn't good at relationships. Like
that's right, because him and Sean were like making fun of Rupert.
Yeah.
And Rupert even tells Burton when he comes back, like, I voted you out because you were making fun of me.
Right, because you were being the bully. And
Burton's like, oh, I wish you had told me, but like, bro, like nobody wants to tell the bully you're being the bully because you're being a bully, which I know is such a hard concept as the bully to understand, but like. When you're being bullied, you don't feel like.
To be fair, it didn't show him doing it.
No, I think they purposely did that because it was always talked about though.
Pretty
by the
humble.
People. Like Sean, we would see Sean pick on Burton, like, and like a kind of a fun way. But clearly, Burton wasn't. Rupert wasn't taking it a fun way. But we'd always hear from like other people, like Burton and Sean are picking on Rupert. Burton and Sean this, Burton and Sean that. But we never see Burton. I think they were trying to like cover up Burton because they knew he was going to come back, and when Burton comes back, he's not. Being a bully. Like
he's much nicer when he comes
back. I feel like they were trying to make him look nicer than he probably really was, in my opinion. And I think that's a huge thing to mention about the season. I think they do the same thing with Rupert. I think if we heard from people about Rupert going "Rah!" in people's faces when he gets mad at them, people would be like, when Rupert screamed in my face, I was pretty scared. But we never hear from anybody about how Rupert screamed in their face. Or like the next person who we're going to talk about who gets voted out, Ryan O. Ryan O gets voted out, but like when he was over there and Ryan O dropped that one stupid fish in the ocean, Rupert's like, "Ah!" Like getting really loud.
No, he lost the hook.
No, that was believe that was Burton.
No.
You're talking about Rhino, like he was putting the fish in the bag, and Rhino accidentally didn't let the fish get in the bag.
But
Rhino didn't lose the spear, or the fish, or the hook, and that was Burton. Burton did that. Burton or Sean. It was not Rhino. It was on Drake. I promise.
Oh, you're right.
It was on Drake. Somebody lost like the end of the spear, and Rupert had to go in the ocean
Sean
to find
lost the
it.
end of the spear.
And then they're like, "Oh, where'd you find it?" He's like, "The ocean."
You're right. Yes. When Rupert went over to Morgan, he was helping.
He's trying to help Rhino.
That's
teach how to
true.
fish, which I don't think ever was successful. But Rhino like accidentally let a fish out of the bag. Who by the way was in good spirits the whole time, even when he lost and messed up. And Rupert went "Rah!" in like Rhino's face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so what'd you think about Rhino, who is the second casualty in the merge from the Morgan tribe?
He was pretty quiet also. I mean, from what I remember, I don't remember a lot about him. Mm-hmm. He was pretty quiet. He didn't make an impression on me.
My opinion, we're now in modern day Survivor. We're talking about diversifying the cast more. Mm-hmm. I feel like Rhino is a classic case of like, do we need another white guy who like... Do we need another white male? Could we not have like got an Asian male or an African male? I'm being serious. Like I feel like this is like a classic case. Like we have nothing to talk about with Rhino. He made it to the second boot of the merge. Like Andrew Savage, Austin, Sean, Trish, Michelle, Ryan, Nicole Delma. It's hard to talk about a first boot in terms of Nicole. So I can't really say whether she was like, but like Skinny Ryan was a part of the season. Michelle, I don't really remember much. So she could have been, that's another person who was not necessarily a good casting choice. Trish actually tried something on Rupert. Worthwhile of the season. Sean, worthwhile of the season for the drama. Austin, worthwhile of the season. Andrew, worthwhile of the season. Rhino and Michelle could have been totally replaced, in my opinion. This is like another case, like, do we need another person who kind of looks like another, I feel like the more diversity we have in terms of how people look also helps. Like, Rupert is not just another white male.
Yeah.
Rupert, they call him Blackbeard in the season. And I agree. He's like the perfect look. He has the perfect look and attitude to be on this pirate season.
Yeah. So
that when it comes to casting, I feel like this is a classic case of like, do we need another white guy who with black hair or brown hair? So that's just my thoughts.
Oh, I can't disagree, I guess. I don't like.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what you think the same thing there. But so it does move into our fallen hero of the season. Our next boot, Rupert.
Yeah.
What'd you think about Rupert? I know you already said
I loved Rupert. He was like one of my favorite parts about this season. He was just so likable and funny, and he's really good at challenges. He wasn't bad at this strategy.
What was his strategy?
Okay, so I don't really know what his strategy was.
His strategy this season was to be the provider and hope that people would keep him for that, and then he'd get mad at people if they even consider voting him out. So to get out Rupert, you had to blindside him because he was going to be mad at you if you got votes and he wasn't gone.
I feel like his best strategy was just his relationships, because he was good at making relationships. But
he was so beloved that made him such a target.
Yes, and that made him his target. And
it was weird when he's like talking to his wife at night and he's like, I know I'm the best survivor ever. And it's like, bro.
I thought he said I wanted to prove that I was the best survivor.
Yeah, but I think what he's really saying is like internally he knows he's the best survivor, but now he just needs to prove it. And it's like, I guess in a way you can take that as like, oh, he's our hero. But I guess with my knowing my knowledge that he's about to be booted in the same episode, gives me a different perspective of Rupert and like egotistical versus
I'm sure everyone,
a fallen hero.
He
did get a hero edit in this season.
He got a hero edit. I took it more as he was like trying to talk himself up, like a pep talk. Like, I'm the best hero. I can do it. That's what I took it as. But
I do like when he was like, when he found like a saltwater catfish, he's like, I didn't even know they had this type of fish in the ocean or whatever. Something like that.
Yeah, he was just cute.
Yeah, a cute burly man with like this huge beard that I think multiple people called him Blackbeard. Jeff and Fairplay definitely did. I remember
he called himself Blackbeard. Yeah. Well, after he was called that, he said that.
Yeah, he's definitely like the perfect fit for this season and this theme.
Oh yeah, for
sure.
And
his feud with Fairplay was pretty good. I wish Rupert had made it further, even if he didn't win, simply because of the feud with Fairplay. Because Fairplay, after Rupert goes, is like almost running free as like this ultimate villain with no one really opposing him.
Yeah.
But honestly though, Rupert leaving does open the gate or open the door, I feel like, for us to actually see more Fairplay and Sandra, who I feel like Sandra had mostly been buried, I feel like, before this. In terms of, like, there wasn't much Sandra. There's little moments of Sandra, but not a lot of Sandra. Sandra's story doesn't really start till Rupert's gone. Like, her story, all the memorable moments she does. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whereas Fairplay already had moments before Rupert and just gets more after him. But I mean, so I kind of wish Rupert had made it longer, but I'm also glad because it lets Sandra have more screen time, because Rupert was eating up screen time constantly. Yeah. I'm going to double check the confessional count, but I'm pretty sure he had the most. But
for good reason. I mean, he was just likable.
What was your favorite Rupert moment of the season?
Oh, geez. Honestly, probably when he made the skirt and he was, I don't know. That was pretty funny.
I know that wasn't intentional in terms of like what it did for him strategically, but I do think having that skirt actually disarms a lot of people when talking to him. Like, you can't take this guy as seriously when he's walking around with the skirt on instead of his jeans, his good jeans that I feel like his wife made him wear.
He said that. He said, well, I don't know. Maybe he didn't say that.
Well, he said like, they're just like rubbing up against my skin like this. And he's like, you know, he's how he talks all season. So his strategy season really to be the provider, and you know his strategy is in All Stars
to be a provider.
Yeah, but he's funny because, and I'm not blowing the season for you here, but at the beginning of the season he's like, new strategy for a new season. I'm gonna be the provider, and it's like that was the same thing you did in Pearl Islands, Rupert. Have you learned nothing?
Not a new strategy.
It's not a new strategy, Rupert. It's the same strategy. So yeah, he says that at the beginning. I don't really remember everything he does in All Stars, but I do know that he says at the beginning, it's like, no, you've learned nothing, Rupert. That is not the strategy. It's not a new strategy. So anyways, yeah, Rupert, iconic character. Everyone, as I've told you before, and I don't know if people here know this, but after All Stars, they did a vote for the most popular survivor from the All Stars cast, and whoever won got $1 million. The final four from All Stars was Colby Donaldson, I believe it was Big Tom. I'm trying to remember who the third person was. I don't know. They didn't win. It wasn't a winner, but it was another man. It was Boston Rob. He got the third. He was the third one, and then Rupert. And the moment Rupert was announced, you're like, oh, Rupert's won this thing. And he did. He won $1 million. And I thought they called him America's Sole Survivor, but they never did, which is smart because otherwise we just have to sit here and have to talk about why he wasn't on Winners of War.
That's true.
Because he was, but he was never America's Sole Survivor. I thought they said that, but they never did. I rewatched it recently. But once again, in terms of the diversity talk, that's 4 white males. Most popular. But it's like, are they the most popular because of how they're edited, like Rupert? Or are they just, I don't know, you know?
Well,
like, how did no females make it the most popular? Jerry I guess she wasn't popular. She was a villain.
She was a villain.
Yeah, Jerry Manthey's a villain. Yeah. I mean, it's not really the talk here of this episode. I'm just saying that, like, I think it's interesting to look back at, like, how some of these people were edited. And Rupert definitely had more villainous moments that I feel like they just didn't show or didn't get people commenting on. Like, when he get mad about things, and like people would put like the coconuts in his thing at that one challenge, and he got like mad. He's like, "Oh, why are you putting coconuts in that one challenge?"
That was a joke.
Remember
he
that?
Was joking.
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, I feel like a Rupert joke is not like, doesn't come across as aggressive.
And this is just my opinion, but when he got up and like yelled in Johnny Fairplay's face, I didn't actually think he was that pissed. I thought,
what are you talking about? After Johnny Fairplay voted for him?
Listen. I think that was more of a. He works with troubled teens all the time. Sometimes you have to get in their face and let them know who's the boss. I think he was just doing that to Johnny to be like, you are not doing that to me again.
I don't think you're supposed to go up to a teenager's face and yell in their face and say, what the F were you doing?
He didn't. Well, obviously he didn't say what the F to a teenager.
Well, that's what he did with Fair Play.
I know, because he knows that will work with Fair Play.
But it didn't. I mean, maybe it worked short term, but it's not a long term solution.
No, it didn't work. I didn't say it was smart. I'm just saying. I'm saying that I think he was trying to. I'm not sure if he was actually I'm sure he was mad about it, but I'm not sure if he was actually just mad or if it was something where he was trying to just like, because afterwards he like immediately cools down. It's like, okay, we're cool. And you know, like, sure. I think he was just trying to not manipulate it, but like just, hey, I'm the alpha here, back down kind of thing.
Yeah. I think Rupert was just mad that he got votes against him. I think it's a little bit more simple than what you're saying. Okay. But I mean,
we talked about Rupert for a long time.
We have. Well, he's such a major character in the season, and when he gets voted out, it's like That
really
episode
sad.
where he gets voted out, all the whimsical music that had been there all season is gone. We're now getting like darker music and like snakes eating like iguanas and stuff. And it's just like very like obvious if you know or anticipating it happening, like what's about to happen, or if you watched enough Survivor. But back then, people were devastated. I remember Rupert was a phenomenon, and I was devastated as a child.
Yeah.
At like 13 years old, 14, however, 13, 14 years old I've been. Like Rupert was like, Survivor had been really popular, and it kind of like died down a little bit. But then Rupert like resurged the popularity, and then All Stars, of course, was a huge event. So it was kind of like almost went hand in hand. But Rupert was like beloved, and then he was voted out, and everybody's devastated. And the fact that Fair Play was still there was not helping. So, anyways, let's move into the next character. I want to say this. I believe Tawana Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
Tawana Bradley. What do you think about Tawana?
I liked her. She did play a pretty quiet game, but overall, she was strong in challenges. She was really competitive. She had a lot of good relationships, but she just didn't really do a lot. She was just kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah, I feel like her and Dara are like what we saw most of the season from them was them just like sitting in the shelter.
Yeah.
But what Tawana did have, if you remember, was Sandra taking her into the bushes.
Yeah.
Yep. The first spy shack, as we call it. The pre-spy shack, where Sandra took her into the bushes and like, look, or listen to Fair Play and Burton talking about their plans to not take you to the end, like they said.
Which was really smart on Sandra's part. Yeah, she was
But it didn't change Tawana's vote at all.
Yeah, it did.
No, I'll double check, but I don't think she... All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I changed her vote for... changed her vote.
I don't think it did. I think she was still... Did not... Remember, if she did vote against Burton and Fair Play, she did. She voted against Burton. You're right.
Yeah.
On her vote out.
I mean,
But
she still
it's
got
so funny
voted out, but...
Yeah. Sandra's like, come on, let's go get them. And then Sandra doesn't even help her vote for Burton. You're right, though. She voted for Burton, yeah. On her way out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really showing a lot of like her and Dara were just like kind of sitting around the shelter. That's all we really saw.
That's what we were shown from them.
And they were the Morgan tribe, who was the not as hardworking, dysfunctional group.
Yeah.
So
I don't have much to say about her.
Very unfortunate because I believe it's when her brother, because at this point, I think at this point, Rupert's gone. Did we get the family visit on this episode? I think we did. Because her brother comes out there, her best friend, something like that. And he's like cannonball in the water.
Best friend, yeah.
Yeah, best friend. Well, they didn't kiss, so.
No, it said her former boyfriend / best friend. Yeah.
Maybe they broke up like, well, I don't know, while she was gone.
No,
I don't know. Anyways, so I think we need to talk about this episode real quick though, because
we do,
because it's crucial.
But I thought we would just talk about that when we got to.
Yeah. Okay, we can. That's not.
We're just talking about
it's
characters.
It's not crucial to her
right
going
now.
home.
Yeah. The only other character moment she had that separated her from Dara, in my opinion, was she really tried to convince Austin to stay. So the first time Austin said he wanted to go home, she tried to talk him out of it. She tried to encourage him, But other than that, she really didn't have anything memorable, in my opinion.
So I agree. She wasn't like a major character. The next person is Krista, who said, dig like your name, Sandra.
I loved Krista. So Krista was like not just another blonde girl that gets sent out there. Krista's like super tall. She's a little awkward. She's like super funny. She worked really hard. She was super strong in challenges. Like I said in that one challenge where she was holding just as much weight as Austin and held it for longer than Austin. And she's like a third of his weight and has no muscles. But she was just, I don't know. I really liked her. She was really tight with Sandra. She was obviously on the Drake tribe that won frequently. I don't know. She was just
She was willing to backstab Sandra.
She was willing to backstab Sandra. She was willing to do what she needed to do to get farther in the game. And I think Sandra knew that.
Her, Sandra, and Rupert were in an alliance.
Right. But she also really was friends with Sandra and Rupert. Like, she was devastated when Rupert got voted out, I think. Oh, we didn't talk about Sandra. Anyways, we'll talk about that later.
Take like your name, Sandra.
Yeah, but
I like Krista. She was weird.
She was really weird. She was really funny. I noticed that her and her fiance like got almost every single one right on the family visit with it. Like,
because the game was Jeff asked a question like, how well do you know your loved one, basically. Yeah. And then both of them are on a chalkboard in the reveal, and like, you're right. Her like, what's your nickname? It's like Lovey, I think was that one. That's the one I remembered.
Yeah.
But
they were cute.
Yeah, some people weren't getting them all right. Some
She
people
did
are getting
like these weird hairstyle. I don't know. I just liked her. She was just very unique. She was definitely a diverse cast.
I get why she's never come back, but she was definitely like a unique part of the season. And I feel like she gets forgotten. I feel like I've never heard anybody really talk about Krista, but yeah, I feel like Krista was a good character for the season.
Yeah.
So our next boot is Burton, who
for the second time
talked about in passing, but he was voted out the first time because he was kind of the social one of the social outcasts of the Drake tribe. But he comes back in the game at the outcast twist on that vote. The vote, him and Lil both get voted back in.
Yeah, and up to this.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, up to this point, him and Johnny Fairplay had been kind of controlling the votes. Like, they got out, they planned Rupert, they planned Tawana, they planned Krista. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
just a two-person alliance, though.
Yeah. So they were getting pretty strong. And so, therefore, the remaining girls, which were Lil, Sandra, and Dara, figure out, oh, hey, you know, the guys are kind of controlling the game.
Yeah. We can't trust them.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Dara goes on an immunity winning streak for somehow. And
Dara goes crazy with immunities.
She makes Burton eligible to basically be voted out because he had won a couple or a few before her. I think what's important with Burton is that he reminds me not just of Chris Underwood, because if he had gotten to the end, I think he could have won pretty easily. But he also gets voted out around that spot, as we mentioned. I think he was the Devons and Lil's the Underwood in terms of the spots, but Burton gets voted out, comes back in. I think he could have won had he gotten to the end.
And you know, this was the challenge where they had a pirate phrase and then to make as many words as possible. Yes. And he won immunity.
Yes, he did.
And then Jeff goes, "Wait a minute, sorry, one of your words is spelled incorrectly." So they had to keep going. Yeah, challenge? And so then Dara wins, and so then they vote Burton out.
Wow, I forgot whether that was this one or not. Yeah, because he had it around. Yeah. Misspelled. I think the word was liaison. He misspelled liaison.
It may have been the previous one because Krista was still in it. Sorry.
Yeah. It was. Anyways, he did lose he did lose a reward or immunity where it was the word he spelled liaison, but he missed an I, and production didn't catch it till after they were already like leaving the challenge.
Yeah, that's funny.
And so, anyways, no, he goes out, but you know why he went out, right? Because he won the car.
Yeah, because of the car curse.
Like. Everyone just knows, even if they don't know you won the car. Because in this case, his car award. So the first all your seasons, it was public knowledge that you won the car. This season's the first time where it was a secret. Only him and Fairplay knew he won the car. That's not why he got voted out, by the way. But if you win the car, you don't win the game. And so all 14 seasons of somebody who wins the car in a challenge, or 13 seasons of people win the car in the challenge, do not win the game. Though the winner typically, like Sandra wins the season, she gets the same vehicle he got.
Yeah, it was after she won.
And by the way, as of I think it was as of 2019, she still had that vehicle that she won from this season.
Because Sandra's a smart lady.
Thrifty. She's thrifty. Burton, though, I feel like first half, when he gets voted out, not important. Very important second half.
No, he's very important. I like how he gets like all this nice, he's a good guy type here, you know, edit. You know, Johnny Fairplay's the bad cop. He's good cop.
He's like, I'm going to be the good cop. Yeah. Fairplay's going to be bad cop at the end.
But then like him and Johnny Fairplay go on the reward together and they're all like, oh yeah, those stupid women back at camp, they wouldn't know how to strategize if it bit them in the face. You know, like they were being so rude and arrogant. At this point,
we have really reached the point of Fairplay. I think with Rupert gone and then you said Tijuana and Krista's gone, it really became like,
they were power hungry, I guess, or what power drunk.
I think at this point they thought they had the game locked.
Yeah, they did.
But they forgot there's 5 people left and there are only 2.
Yes. Yeah. And they're like for a minute like, oh, I wonder if the girls had any brains. They think, oh, there's 3 of them. They could get us out. And it's like, well, they do have like that was a funny edit. Honestly, I kind of enjoyed that.
Funny if you're like, I can't wait for them to get their comeuppance.
Right. Exactly. And they definitely did.
Even better, Fairplay went here, but I feel like Fairplay went here. Burton has a better shot getting to the end again.
Yeah. They had to take him out when he didn't have immunity.
Yeah, because Fairplay's not winning immunities, but Burton was. No, Burton. Yep. I understand why they never brought him back, because his opportunities to come back would have been either an All-Stars. He doesn't fit in All-Stars. He could have come back fans versus favorites, but there's only 10 favorites that season. And by the time we reach season 16,
there's a lot more favorites.
There's a lot of favorites, and there's people I'd pick over Burton. And I think they did a good job. And then we get to season 20, Heroes vs. Villains. He doesn't really fit there. Like, by the time we get Heroes vs. Villains, there's definitely a lot of people to pick from. Burton just had the unfortunate circumstance of never having a season that was right for him to return to. Until Second Chances in season 31. But that, as I said, Savage got to that one. So, anyways, Burton goes. He was a big part of the season. I I think if he gets to the end, he could win.
Yeah,
I
he
think
probably could have.
Dara, John, Lil, or Sandra, he probably can beat any of them. I think. Maybe Sandra would be the hardest one because I don't think anybody really dislikes Sandra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except Johnny Fairplay.
Yeah. So let's talk about Dara, who I think averaged like one confessional episode, maybe less, maybe more. It was very close though.
So this one was an interesting immunity because they all just went straight to tribal, and the jury got to be involved in this immunity.
What a twist! Another twist.
It was another twist. So basically, it was like a trivia thing. Answer choose A, B, C, D, or true, false.
So the jury, like the 6 of them, the 5 of them.
So the 6 of them got to work together to answer. So they answered every single one correct.
No, they got one wrong.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. They got one wrong. Yeah. Sorry, but they still beat everybody else that was playing. So because of that, none of the contestants were able to win immunity. Basically, the jury had immunity.
Yeah.
And so anybody was game to be voted out. And so they went ahead and voted out Dara because, for 2 reasons. One, because she kept winning the immunity. And 2, because she insulted Lil. And so Lil, had gone to Sandra and was like, I just don't know if we can trust it, but, it could be you and me and Johnny Fairplay. Nobody likes Johnny Fairplay. So let's just go ahead and get out Dara. So they did, which was smart. I just couldn't stand it that Johnny Fairplay lasted as long as he did. But that's what they did.
I think it's good that he lasts as long as he did.
I know you do. You enjoy his
Well, it's not that. I think it's just for the narrative. Like, okay, if Fairplay goes any earlier, it's like the rest of this becomes not as exciting. Like, there's no like real person to root against. Like, if Fairplay goes back right after Rupert, we're talking about Tawana, Krista, Burton, Dara. I mean, it's just not as exciting of a boot order. Sure. But with John still there, being the jerk that he is,
and John made this vote happen because he was there with Lil and Dara. Yep. They were just hanging out, and John's the one's that's like, okay,
Dara,
guys,
who you can take to the end?
Exactly, Dara, go ahead and tell me who you're taking to the end. And of
right
course,
in front of Lil.
If Dara was smart, she would just been, well, I'm taking Lil to the end. Like that's all you have to do.
Yep.
But Dara doesn't know any better. She's like, I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Yeah, like we have all day to think about it, but I haven't really thought about that scenario. What happens if
Yeah. So that, of course, upsets Lil and Dara gets out.
The reality is I don't think Dara was going to take Lil to the end because John was trying to build up Lil, which, by the way, is a good move. Making her seem like, if Lil gets to the end, she's going to cry in front of the jury and everyone's going to vote for her, which, by the way, not true. No. But there wasn't a lot of evidence. At this point, we're in season 7, and I don't think they've even seen all the Amazon. So they don't have a lot of seasons to go off of here. They don't have a lot of evidence of like what a jury picks to vote for.
Obviously, people didn't really like Lil because they kept saying, "Oh, everyone loves Lil. She's like the mom. Everyone would vote for Lil. She's the Boy Scout masker. She's so likable." But I don't think people really liked her.
People would have voted for Lil. Is what they're saying.
I don't think people really liked her as much as they kept saying. I think they just kept saying that to make Lil feel better.
No, I think people legit thought like this grandmother who's crying and has a heart is going to win the game. And Lil did make a lot of moves as they'll talk about in Final Tribal. Lil does not own up to the moves. Lil takes Final Tribal. She does such a terrible job with Final Tribal. Like a terrible job.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and go.
We're not going straight to Lil. We're going to
I know, John.
Fairplay.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Fairplay goes out third.
Very surprising.
And similar to Sester Nino, but not really.
So final immunity challenge. Yep. Yes. Which Wesley's like, who do you think wins this? And I'm like, Sandra, because it's one of those challenges where you just have to want it. You have to want it.
So what they're doing is they're standing on this platform in the ocean, and their butt nor their knees can touch the box that they're standing on, but their hands can. Yeah. But the ocean's shaking so much that you're not just standing up straight because it's like moving too much, you're gonna fall. Like even while they were sitting, while Jeff's explaining the challenge, like Sandra like almost falls over off her box. So what they're doing is basically like kneel, like
crouching,
squatting.
Yeah,
with their hands on the thing, and like so 15 minutes in, Sandra drops.
I know. I was so surprised. I'm like, I know she's not good at challenges. Yeah. I know, but I'm like, for this one challenge where all it requires is mental.
Dig like your name, Sandra.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so surprisingly, John and Lil make it like what 2.5 hours or something.
Yeah, crazy. So they make 2 hours 45 minutes.
Yeah. So this 51-year-old woman against this 29-year-old man, and she completely blows him out of the water, which is not. I mean, sure, John's not great, but he does do that fake wrestling stuff, so he has to have some sort of physical ability. But anyways, yeah. So Lil wins immunity. She decides to take Sandra because she's a genuinely good person, and she likes Sandra, and she wants Sandra to go to the end and not Johnny.
Yeah, and she says she thinks Sandra has a shot at winning this thing. Because reality is this is like this is like Colby Donaldson, not the same extreme, but Colby Donaldson picking Tina to go to the end over Keith. Colby easily beats Keith. Colby is a sole survivor of. He's a sole survivor, duh. He's a sole survivor of the Australian Outback if he takes Keith at the end, but instead he wins and decides to take Tina, and he loses Tina 4-3. Here, Lil takes Sandra over John, and Lil loses 6-1. But in reality, if she takes John, a lot of people don't like John.
Yeah.
I believe Sandra and Rupert definitely vote for Lil if they're on the jury, and it's Lil versus John first fair play.
If it was more of a modern season, I could see Johnny winning just because he made more moves and he was more strategic.
But that's not what it's all about.
I know, but this is still classic
Sure.
Survivor.
But this is even now, like, you still just can't do things in PO people, just PO people.
Yeah,
John's
sure.
in, like, I know he's not saying this, but maybe to their faces, but in, like, confessional saying, like, what are the women going to beat me at except for getting pregnant contest?
Right, exactly.
That's the attitude he has, and that even if he's just saying
across a lot.
it's going to come across. Yeah, he's not like hiding it well. He's purposely being a villain. The dead grandma thing, which by the way we haven't really touched on, but he basically at the family reward says that his friend comes out. I think Thunder D called him. Thunder D comes out doing the fair play sign, and he's like, oh, hey, what about grandma? He's like, and then Thunder D's like, what? Like, he forgot.
Yeah.
He's like, what about grandma? He's like, oh, she died, dude. And then fair play's like, oh, my grandma's not here right now. She was supposed to come. And then I thought Probst was like not buying it, and Probst was like, oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
But then at the reunion, Probst said he didn't know, and he said they went and called Fairplay's grandma's like house to see if there's anything Survivor could do, because Survivor didn't know that his grandma died while he was on the show. And she picks up the phone. So she answers the phone. She's fine. So that's how Probst, but the way Probst reacts here is almost like, maybe because it's fair play.
I think it's because it was probably shocked, and also probably like,
I think he was shocked.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's clear that it looked like Probst didn't believe him, but I guess maybe
Sandra obviously.
Sandra did not.
Or just didn't care.
Or didn't care, probably. And then Krista also did not.
I don't think Krista
seem like she didn't believe him. And it's funny because he does this, and like he does this and he pulls it off, and like in the short term it makes no sense. Like, okay, so he wins his family reward, so he gets to go back to camp with Thunder D. Like, they don't get any food or anything. There's nothing else. He's just hanging out with his friend.
Well, to be fair, he didn't really know what the reward was going to be.
Well, they say at the beginning what this reward, but typically there is food associated, but here there's no food. So what I think is interesting is that Sandra, first chance she gets on this challenge to punish fair play, she does, and because they have all the
Lillian's
loved ones.
like, his grandma just died.
His grandma just died. Be sensitive. All of the loved ones are standing on like a plank, so it's like a walk the plank thing. Mm-hmm. And if you get 3 questions wrong, or if you're told, anyways,
if you get a question right, you get to pick somebody else to take a step.
There you go.
Yes.
Take a step on the plank, and after like 3 steps, you're out, or maybe it's 4 steps. Sandra picks fair play's not grandma, fair play's friend first. And then everyone gets annoyed at her and makes her lose like immediately. Yeah. But what's funny is when she does that, fair play's like, well, I just want to get information about my grandma, but I guess some people don't want me to have that. And Sandra's like, it's not all about you, John. She's like, it's not always about you, John. Like, dude just supposedly has had his grandma die, and Sandra does not care. It's not all about you, John.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But anyways.
Which is why I thought she didn't believe him. It's possible she did. She just didn't care.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I wouldn't have believed it.
He was the ultimate villain. Yeah. He's the first time we've had somebody who's a villain and embraced being a villain. I know Richard Hatch, he embraced being cocky. Richard Hatch was not thinking.
We didn't even talk about the time that he showed up to tribal council drunk, like just completely drunk.
Oh yeah, he showed up to tribal council drunk in the pre-merge at one of the Drake tribal councils, and he's like giving terrible answers to Jeff, and Jeff's like, "Are you loaded?" And he's like, "Yeah." And Jeff is visibly PO'd at fair play.
Yes,
this is the first instance that Jeff is like ticked at this guy, because the rest of the season Jeff probably threw more zingers that they didn't leave in the show, but he threw zingers at fair play, like when he showed up at the final 4 with like their breakfast at the camp, and he's like, oh, fair play in bed with 2 women for the first time ever, or something like that. And fair play's like, well, actually, but like it came across well, actually, like I'm trying to impress you, but not like he's actually ever done it.
Sure. Not
saying this is like some impressive thing to do, but Jeff's just throwing zingers. Jeff's like, fair play does something, he's like, oh, fair play screws up again, or oh, fair play can't, I guess he's throwing this challenge or something like that, stuff like that. Jeff's just like dunking on fair play whenever possible. So
we've got through all the characters now.
No, we haven't.
Oh, sorry. We
still haven't talked about the two people in the end, but what I'm saying is that Fairplay is such a massive villain in the season. He you need him to go this far, and you need him to go out and not make the end though.
Yeah.
Or if he makes the end, he loses. He cannot win, because if he wins, we have another Thailand on our hands.
Yeah.
And Thailand had a villain win, though he wasn't thinking of himself as a villain. And the other villain who won was Richard Hatch, though he was cocky. He wasn't like going around being evil. He was just viewed as evil because he had an alliance and he was using it to vote people out. Like, that was the evil acts he was doing. So, child's play, of course, comparison to today. But anyway, so this is like the perfect place for a villain to go out as the third position, where he tries to make a deal with Lil at the final immunity challenge, and she says no. And it's just like Sesternino trying to make a deal with Jenna Marasca, and Jenna Marasca saying no. Yeah. And then they cut them. Except Sesternino, I view as more of a hero than Fairplay. Fairplay openly tried to be a villain constantly. Yeah. And Sesternino was a villain in aspects, but not to this extent by any means. No. So, anyways, yes, we have two people left, Sandra and Lil.
Yeah, Lil, I don't know.
I like Lil.
I like her.
I liked her a lot.
It was really, really weird. She looks almost exactly like my grandma, and she had some of the same mannerisms as my grandma. My grandma was
born around the same
not
time.
as emotional as Lil was.
Yeah.
But my grandma was never put on an island either.
No.
But anyways, yeah, I liked her. I think she was just a bit much sometimes. I don't think she understood the strategy.
No.
She always voted emotionally.
I could see her having casually watched every season, but not truly understanding how Survivor
She said
works.
she admitted she didn't know much about the show before she got on the show.
Oh, okay.
On the show, she said that. So yeah, no, I don't think she knew much about the show.
Oh, okay.
I think
I don't like when they recruit that many
She
people.
was thinking more of, I'm going to go out in the wilderness and survive, and I'm a Boy Scout, and I can do that.
Yeah, probably.
I can make fire.
She was wearing her Boy Scout uniform for the promo shots, because that's what, when they got dumped onto the island, they thought they were going to have their promo shots taken. So Rupert's wearing his nice dress jeans, he says, with no underwear, is what I think, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And Lil's wearing her Boy Scout uniform for this. That one chick was wearing, Nicole Dummo's not wearing a bra. That was, okay.
They're all trying to look their best for their promo shots.
Yeah, because Savage is wearing his lawyer out, his
Armani
tux.
suit.
Yeah, his Armani suit, he said.
Somebody was wearing Armani.
Somebody's wearing an Armani suit. It was either him or Bert or somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone's wearing their nice clothes. So Lil's wearing her Boy Scout uniform. She's wearing the whole season. But the thing is, she has undershirt on. She could have taken off the Boy Scout uniform, but she chose not to.
Yeah. She was proud of her.
It wasn't like she was wearing it at night. She was wearing it all day.
Yeah.
And she was proud of it. And it came to bite her in the butt at the end when everybody's like, Lil, you did all this backstabbing and all these things. And you're wearing this Boy Scout uniform. I
didn't get that because any backstabbing that she did was all... she always voted with a group. She was never spearheading any movement.
It wasn't that. It's just that she did more backstabbing than Sandra. And that's all that matters at the final two, who you're sitting next to. So when she's sitting next to Sandra, who hasn't backstabbed everybody,
I feel like Sandra did backstab.
She did backstab everyone there. Sandra voted her wrong, actually, a lot of the time.
Oh, sure. She voted wrong sometimes.
Which is what we're talking about. Yeah, she did not vote for the right person a lot of times. So when you're sitting next to him,
that seems not smart. Then.
I think Lil voted right. Is it though? Because it's all about winning the game. The smart thing is to get the jury votes, and Sandra did the right thing here. Because Lil in the final tribal is imploding. She's
but yeah, at final tribal, that's what I'm saying. She was just an emotional player. Mm-hmm. She didn't know how to answer the questions. She wasn't. Everything she did in the game was based on what she felt at the time, and she wasn't very eloquent.
But she was doing these things, and I think she was doing. They were saying she was doing the Boy Scout oath every day, and these things. So it's
that's what I'm saying. I don't think
coming
people really
across
liked
as
her.
This moral person, but she's doing these backstabbing things. Where I think if she had just not worn her Boy Scout uniform, I'm sure the pants were fine, but I think it was really just the shirt with all the patches and badges and whatnot that made it seem that way. Because if she had just been in her undershirt, I'm sure she's wearing appropriate clothing. Because we saw her without her Boy Scout shirt sometimes. Mm-hmm. But if she had just not worn that, I think she'd been a lot better, because it came by her in the butt at the end when everybody's like, Boy Scout, you're doing the oath and and then you're backstabbing us. And of course, I think even if she doesn't do that, I'm not saying she all of a sudden wins the game, but
it would have helped.
I don't think if she goes down 6-1, because Tawana, I think, is the only one. She says during the reunion, I think she's the only one who votes for Lil, and it's because she's like, well, Lil actually did more things. Lil did, was more responsible for more people going home, and that was Tawana. That's modern Survivor thinking in terms of voting right there.
Yeah.
Who did the most?
Well, that's true. And even within her alliance, Lil was like, oh, you mean I have to lie to somebody? I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can lie. And then, but then she would lie all the time. Yeah. No, she said to Burton too.
Oh, she said to Fair Play as well.
Yeah.
But I think it was interesting that in the final tribal, I'm not saying it didn't come up, but nobody mentioned how she was voted out and then came back in the game.
Yeah.
Whereas like Edge of Extinction, it was brought up both times.
Yeah.
But here, it was not brought up at all, how she was voted out third and then came back.
That's true.
I think, though, the one thing at Survivor they should have taken away when they did Edge of Extinction from the season is, like, if you're going to bring back people, just do it at the merge and don't do it again. Bring them back at the merge like they did with Lil and Burton. But, like, just if you need to bring back two, bring back two. Like, that's what they do with Edge of Extinction. They just do one at the merge, one at Final Six. Just do them both at the merge.
Sure.
I think it worked better here.
I did like it here. I thought it was
Could you imagine Lil coming back at Final Five here?
Yeah, no.
No, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, no.
It would not have been as interesting.
No.
And just in the finale, that's the only place she exists as in the finale. In the first 3 episodes, they've been like, "Who's Lil? Why do I care about her?"
Right.
But if she was there from the merge, so we got to know her again.
Yeah.
She was only missing for a few episodes. So, anyways, I think, and then we got your winner, Sandra.
Sandra, the queen.
I
I do like Sandra. I do think in general her game style is pretty boring. It's just as long as it's not me, let's do it.
She said it so many times. She's like, people want to like get rid of each other. I don't care as long as it ain't Sandra.
Yeah.
You know.
She got mad at Johnny Fairplay a couple of times. Mm-hmm. I think she had a few good strategic moments.
She
like
makes Johnny Fairplay the villain too. She played into that.
Yeah, she definitely played that up. Like showing T, Burton and Fairplay talking.
Yes.
And that
her spy shack basically.
She would make a few hints here and there about, and she spied on Burton before. That wasn't the first time she spied on Burton.
Spat on Burton?
Spied.
Oh, spied. I think it's spat. I thought she spit on him. I don't remember that.
She spied on Burton before. She made a few strategic movements or a few strategic comments, here or there. But in general, she was pretty much just like lay low, do terrible in challenges. I don't think that's her strategy. I think she's just terrible in challenges.
It was helped that there was always a bigger target than her, a bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
And it really helped because Burton came back at the merge. Because if he hadn't come back, I guess the boot. I mean, there still would have been. Yeah, I don't know. I think she still would have been fine because Rhino and Andrew and Austin and Sean, there still would have been bigger targets than her. There was constantly bigger fish to fry than Sandra. So Sandra kind of slid her way to the end, and she didn't vote for everyone to get out of the game. She was not like part of the majority vote every time, and she stayed true to the people she needed to. Like when Krista went home, she did not vote for Krista.
Yeah, she had good alliances, and she stuck with those alliances, and that's why people liked her, I think, at the end.
And when Rupert went home, she didn't vote for Rupert because Rupert's like questioning for Sandra's like, "Did you know I was gonna go?" And Sandra's like, basically no, I didn't know you were gonna go. And then I'm looking at her voting record to see who else she voted wrong for. But and there was one time where she like, I think it was the Rupert vote. She's like, actually I voted for John thinking that my vote didn't matter. And I don't fully understand the strategy there. Maybe she thought, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what she was thinking with voting for John when even John, nobody else was voting for John, just her.
Yeah, she was just mad at John.
So she voted correctly for Andrew, for Ryan O. Andrew was not on the jury though. He doesn't count in this case. So Ryan O. She then votes for John when Rupert goes. She votes for Tijuana, which I believe is correct.
Yeah.
She votes for Lillian when Krista goes. Then she votes for Burton and Dara. So she only missed 2 votes, I guess.
Yeah.
When it comes to the jury. But she definitely wasn't leading the charge. And on the Burton vote, it definitely didn't seem like Sandra was the reason. She was just part of the girl group.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sandra may have played a boring game, but she had a lot of personality.
She has a lot of personality. Yeah, yes.
Her strategy was not exciting, but her personality.
She's fun to watch. She's fun to listen to.
Jeff Rose called her like a lippy mother during the show.
Yes.
Like not on the reunion, during the show.
She was the one that after Rupert got voted out, she got mad, so she went and threw the fish out.
Oh, okay. So her goal was to take the fish, throw them back in the ocean so they could live. I don't know if the goal of throwing them in the ocean is because they're dead at that point.
They leave them in water so that they're fresh.
Oh, okay. So maybe she was throwing them back in the ocean so they could go back to living. But instead,
she tripped.
She said the bucket was too heavy, so she tripped, which totally makes sense considering what you see of her in every challenge. And so the fish are like in the fish are like out in the woods, but nobody knows it's Sandra who dumped them.
Right, because she's like, oh crap, I just did this. Yeah, so then she immediately starts picking a fight
with Fair Play.
Yeah, so that people get distracted.
Yeah, she's yelling at Fair Play, and then in the middle of yelling at Fair Play, Burton's like, who threw out the fish? And then like, Sandra, did you do it? She's like, what? I don't don't want the fish thrown out. What the F? I want to eat it. And then she's like, I'm over here, fighting with fair play. And then they all blame Krista because Krista's the only other one who didn't want Rupert to go.
Yeah.
And Krista did not do it.
Poor Krista. She was like crying and everything.
Yeah, Krista's getting blamed for this thing she didn't do. It was really Sandra all the time. But Sandra was smart because she knew that she told him. Now, it was dumb for her to like take revenge on them because she had more revenge in plan. She even said like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And I'm sure she was going to slowly do each and one of these things. Mm-hmm. But it would have sabotaged her game had they found out it was her. So I'm glad she didn't do it.
Yeah.
But that fish going back in the ocean thing was hilarious.
That was pretty funny.
That's such a Sandra move to like trip and they
didn't even find him. So like if they'd found
them the next morning.
They found them the next morning. They were all rotted and it was not good. But if they'd found them immediately, they could have still.
She did such a good job that even a cameraman didn't catch her doing this.
I know. If it did, it was so quick. It. Yeah.
I think we would have saw it because it wasn't like they were trying to keep it a real big secret from us. They told us like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was definitely an entertaining winter.
She was very entertaining. She's definitely. I think she's more entertaining than Jenna Maraska.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
She's entertaining, more entertaining than Heidick. Heidick was entertaining, but for the wrong reasons. She's more entertaining than Vesepia. I would say she's more entertaining than Ethan, but not necessarily like their strategies were not too far apart. Well, maybe they were. Anyways,
Ethan was nicer.
You didn't see Africa, so
no, I haven't. But from what you have,
said, Ethan got into an alliance and was able to ride it to the end.
Yeah,
which is, anyways. So entertainment wise, I think she was the most entertaining winner since Richard Hatch, because Tina kind of entertaining. Ethan, he was really nice. Vesepia not super entertaining. Heidick entertaining, but for bad reasons, and then Jenna Maraska not really entertaining. Yeah, Sandra might be the second most entertaining winner we've had in the first 7, which is crazy because nobody sits around talking about Sandra's an entertaining winner. Just about her strategy. Sandra, because modern day Sandra is not the same Sandra for anyone listening. Like modern day Sandra's like, I'm the queen. She's like full of herself and she's like going around telling people she's the queen and she's like trying to make these moves that keep blowing up in her face. But here, Sandra's actually way more humble, but she has a mouth. Burton wins that immunity one, the one where he actually accidentally spells liaison the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So it's before they knew Burton didn't win. And like it cuts to Sandra saying mother effer, like about Burton while he's getting crowned with the immunity. And it's like just little moments like that, like all season with Sandra.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's not like malicious.
She's got a big personality.
Yeah. She's not malicious with how she talks about people. She's just like, this is how Sandra thinks, and she has like almost no filter. Almost.
Yeah, pretty much.
Almost no filter when it comes to like how she talks about them, but not like to their face. And then like at one time she got in a fight with Fairplay. Fairplay's like, I'm a better swimmer. Even with my arms, I beat you. And she's like, what you talking about? In the ocean? In the ocean? And he's like, yeah, in the ocean. I was doggy paddling. I beat you. And she's like, oh, what the F? I can get loud too. And she gets up in his face. That's what I mean by Fairplay did get in a fight with her before.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got in fights with everybody in the pre-merge and then the post-merge still. He's just getting in fights, man. Consistently. She's like, what the F? I can get loud too. I can get your face. Yeah. She was like, but she did really good at the beginning with that, getting all the stuff for the tribe. And then she was very entertaining. Her strategy, not like impressive on paper. I mean, it's impressive that fact she was able to do it.
Yeah.
Not impressive to like talk about, but her entertainment value was definitely up there.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's all the characters. Out of 10, what would you rate the characters?
This season had a lot of good characters. So I would say this is definitely like an 8.
An 8? Yeah, I would. So very briefly, we're going to say, did you like the character or not? So Nicole Delma. It's just a yes or no.
No.
Okay. I'm trying to pull up. I don't know why I'm missing the list all of a sudden. I know who. Oh, I'm on the Sandra wiki, not the Pearl Islands wiki. That's why. Second boot was just Skinny Ryan. Did you like him? Okay. The third boot was Lil.
Yes.
I liked Lil. Fourth boot was Burton.
No.
You didn't like Burton?
I mean, he's an okay character for the show, but not really.
Trish Dunn.
No.
Sean Cohen.
No.
Austin.
No.
Andrew Savage.
Yeah.
Ryan O.
Yeah.
Rupert.
Yes.
Tawana.
No, yes, whatever. I don't know. No.
No, mixed feelings. Krista.
Yes.
Burton. I'm sorry, I said Burton. Dara.
No.
Fair play.
No.
You don't like him, but he's entertaining.
I don't like him, but he's entertaining.
And then Sandra.
Yes.
Okay, so 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right. Twists. We already talked about all the twists and everything. So what would you give the twists out of 10?
Really, I really liked this season. It's probably like a 9 for me.
With all the twists and everything, the themes and everything.
The themes, yeah.
Okay. We talked about that strategy, the strategy of the season. Did you like the strategy of the season? We've kind of talked about all these things, but trying to get your overall feelings.
It had some good strategic moments. I wouldn't think anything like just drastic, but I'm probably like a 7. Yeah.
Yeah. The strategy, there was not like anything truly innovative, but I think Sandra's like anybody but me strategy. While other people may have been playing the strategy, nobody really vocalized it in the first 6 seasons, and nobody definitely made it successful to the point where they just won. I mean, like I feel like Vesepia kind of played anybody but me, but she never really said that. So it's definitely an argument can be made. I know you haven't watched Marquesas, but Vesepia definitely like was willing to cut deals with different people and didn't care and got to the end and won.
Yeah. I was thinking more of Johnny Fairplay and Bruton. They really did have some good strategic moments.
It did definitely, and the way Fairplay was able to, it didn't work for him. He's trying to build up Lil. Like you don't want to take Lil at the end because she'll win. Take me instead. And to be fair, I think Fairplay still loses. Yeah. I think Fairplay had so many good strategic moments, but his social game.
Yes.
He blew himself up. Like there's no way Fairplay is going to the end and winning.
Yeah.
Whereas there's an argument to be made that Sesternino goes to the end and wins because people did not vehemently hate Sesternino. Because I feel like they're in a similar position. Rob gets the end and it's very possible he gets 4 votes. Fairplay gets the end, he gets maybe 2 votes. I don't think he gets 3. I don't think he gets 4. I don't think he wins.
No.
I think he gets 2 votes. He really annoyed people. He like Savage. I remember him coming over Morgan Savage like, oh, Fairplay's actually acting nice instead of like his usual cocky, annoying self. And like, bro had been living on a different camp. He hadn't only seen Fairplay at challenges.
Yeah.
But he already had like this conception. I'm sure the rest of the tribe did that Fairplay was a jackal, basically.
Right.
So there was no way Fairplay was ever going to win. So the strategy, what was the score again?
Like a 7.
7 out of 10, okay. And then the next thing I have is production, which is a little bit harder to talk about, but I think that they did some twists here that really could have blew up in their face. Like the kidnapping really could have blown up worse. Rupert could have come back and been voted out immediately, and that's their star of the season.
Yeah.
And they, of course, they didn't plan for that. But the Outcast twist, interesting. I do think if they never, ever, ever, ever did it again, like Edge of Extinction, we'd be like, oh, look at this one time they tried something. But it's almost like a pre-Edge of Extinction that they didn't learn from when they did it. It's almost like they forgot about it when they did Edge of Extinction. So I
like that.
Can't really blame 2003 production for doing it. I'm just more upset at current production.
Yeah, well, we're not judging.
Yeah, I know. But here they tried something. I do like how they faked us out by having these people do their go away. Like you truly like want to pull one over on everybody. That's it right there. Yeah. I bet you. I wonder if these people at the time did like exit press. They like went on the Today Show and stuff, and they're like, because they did that back then. They go on like the early show the next morning and be like, "Oh, you got voted out. How was it? Oh, it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot of things." So I wonder if like Lil got voted out. I wonder if Burton was on the morning show like twice because he's the first person to be voted out twice.
Right. That'd be interesting.
I think that'd be interesting if somebody gets this far in the podcast and looks that up and tells us. I would be curious to know if like Lil was on the morning show after being the third boot, but then goes back in the game at the merge because Survivor. I think they pulled one over on everybody. I don't think even like because it'd been weird if all of a sudden like that person wasn't on doing exit press. Yeah. Anyways, production quality. I feel like Jeff at this point is definitely, except for like sometimes he asks like some. I feel like Jeff now is better at like asking questions in terms of like not being so pointed, but here. He's good at asking questions, but he definitely like will poke the bear. Yeah. In like in a way, it's like that's really his goal. Jeff. What's that?
I thought that was his goal, though. Like makes interesting.
Yeah,
TV.
But like him like throwing jabs at fair play. Do you think you'd be coming into any season now and saying like, "Oh, you're sleeping in bed with 2 women"? That's a first.
Well, he wouldn't be bringing them breakfast either.
You know what I mean? If there's no way Jeff's ever coming into a camp throwing jabs at a player.
Maybe. I don't know. He seems like he can be pretty mean sometimes.
In current Survivor, I don't think he's doing that. I'm not saying that there's not like some friendly banter. I just don't think Jeff's ever like making like these like inappropriate jokes.
Okay, sure.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like, listen to that joke and like, do you think Jeff now? I don't think he does. So it's funny. Don't get me wrong. It's funny for because it's fair play. So it worked. If it was anybody else, it wouldn't work. But
sure.
Yeah, production's a little bit hard to talk about. Do you want to rate production? Challenges. I don't really want to talk about the challenges.
if I'm basing it off challenges, it gets like an 8 for me because of all the pirate things.
I do like how different the challenges were. It wasn't,
yes, all different challenges.
It wasn't run an obstacle course, do a puzzle at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like the challenges.
They did a really good job. I can't think of many challenges this season, if any, where I'm like, oh, they thought this was a good idea for a challenge. Yeah, nothing like that. The blow dart one, I did feel like it was a bit similar to the one where they shot the rifle that had the flares.
Sure, but that was cool.
The rifle was cool. The rifle with the flares I thought was kind of cool, but I think the blowgun one is actually better because it was like they had like a life bar basically.
Yeah.
And you got to like eliminate parts of their life. You know, like I thought that was a cool idea. Burton blew through that challenge, killed everybody. But yeah, no, I really like how they went with the theme. So out of 10, what would you give production?
I just said an 8.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even hear you. All right. So last thing is Sandra the winner. We talked about Sandra, but what would you rate Sandra the winner out of 10?
I mean, she's really entertaining.
This includes her character and her strategy.
Yeah. I just don't think she had a lot of strategy. So for me, I think she's more of a 7.
Okay. So I think overall you gave 8s and 7s. There's no 9s in there. So this is somewhere around 7.5 for you as a season.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Did you like this more than Amazon? Or did you like Amazon more?
No, I like this way more than Amazon.
I think Amazon is a good season. It's a solid season that's held down by Rob. If you're not rooting for Rob, though, I'm not sure how much you like Amazon. But if you're rooting for Rob, then Amazon's fun to watch. But no, this season has a lot more characters to root for. So
yeah, for sure.
Anyways, are you ready for All Stars? That's the next season.
I am.
You want to hear who's on the cast, or do you already know?
I know it.
You know some. You know Rupert. Well, here I'll tell you who's on the cast of All Stars. Okay. Here we are in 2020 talking about. Are you ready for the reveal?
Yeah, the big reveal.
I know you know. I know you watched maybe an episode or two with me of All Stars when I was doing some work for somebody, but I'll read you the cast because now some of these will make more sense. You got Tina Wesson, the winner of Australian Outback. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, that's not the list. Yeah, I mean she is on the season. Hang on. Okay, so you got Amber Burkich that you know now from later seasons. Boston Rob. You have Jerry Manthe, who's a villain from.
Yeah, I know.
Australian Outback. Yeah, Ethan's on, of course. Mm-hmm. Got Colby Donaldson. You have Lex Vandenberg, who was on Africa. I know you don't really know that is. Alicia Calloway, you don't know from Australian Outback. Sheehan from Thailand. It's the only player from Thailand they brought back. Big Tom from Africa. Rupert, of course. Rupert. Jenna Lewis. Trust me, most people didn't know who Jenna Lewis was. She came from the first season. Yeah, she's one of those, like, Mary's giving me a weird look right now. Like, what? You got Richard Hatch. You got Rudy, Jenna Maraska, Rob Sessionino, and then Sue Hawk. So most of those names probably ring bells, I'm guessing.
Most of them, yeah. So is this the season that Rob and Amber fall in love?
Yes. Yes, this is the season where Rob and Amber fall in love. And Rob Sessionino at one point says, I think they're going to do it.
Oh, my gosh.
Because that's how close they are. He's like, I think they're going to do it. And he was right. They are going to do it. And they're going to have 4 kids. So very prophetic.
And live happily ever after.
Yeah. I mean, so you already know who wins the season. When we get to season 9, though, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Like I accidentally did with Amazon. You will not know who the winner of. You do not know the winner of Vanuatu. And you do not know the winner of Palau. Those are season 9 and 10. I will not spoil it.
Were they on Winners
at War? They were not Winners at War.
Okay.
That's why you don't know who they are.
Okay, good.
So it will be completely blind for you on those two. But this one, you of course knows how how it sends. But you do not know the boot order.
I don't know who wins All Stars.
You don't know who wins All Stars?
I don't.
Okay, well,
yes,
this will be a real big surprise for you, I guess. You should know. We watched Winners at War.
Yeah, never mind.
Okay, but you don't know the boot order, so it'll be interesting still. Oh, and Kathy Vavrick O'Brien from Marquesas. You probably don't know who that is. But some of these you do. So, anyways, it'll be a fun one. But yeah, this one was we went an hour and a half talking about.
Yeah.
We could have gone longer, but I think we're both like running out of steam here.
Just watch the show. It's a good one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, anyone who's got an hour and a half in this podcast, I'm sure you've already watched. But if you're like, I should watch it again, definitely. It's a great season to rewatch.
It really is.
I think out of the first 7, just like personal bias, favorite season, definitely top 2 in the first 7. I can't say for a fact this is my favorite one. There's so many things I like about Amazon that like I could debate between Amazon and Pearl Islands, but if you're like looking for a classic season to rewatch, watch Amazon and then this. I feel like the strategy is what keeps it interesting because the first 5 seasons like can get predictable in places and like boring, even if some exciting things do happen. If you're looking for like good strategy, but Amazon in this season has good strategy in them. Like it's not predictable week to week who's going. You may figure out at the beginning of an episode, but you do not know when an episode ends who's going next.
Right.
Which is what keeps it so fresh. So, all right, that is it for the Pearl Islands deep dive. Do you have anything else for everybody?
Nope.
All right, well, we will see you all next time. Bye.